5 years. 5 years I have been waiting for this episode. And here we are. Tonight, the Power Hour welcomes the one, the only, him, if you will, Jason Hades. Jason, boss, my friend, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad we're finally getting a chance to do this. Red, what's up?
What's up, bro?
All right.
This is a great night.
It is really cool. We've done some interviews in the past and we've interviewed some cool people, but I remember the first time I saw you fight. Now, I was a little late to the ball game in indie wrestling. So I didn't get to see Jason Hades at Elite. I didn't get to see Jason Hades at Dreamwave, but I did see Jason Hades come to Crash Tested like a rock star and whoop Nick Brubaker's ass that I had never seen. So that was my first time seeing you fight live. And then everybody would tell me this, you thought that was great. This guy has done this. And, your biggest advocate that told me all the stories is none other than Aaron Xavier. So he's the one that said, when this guy comes out, you got to watch this guy. He is something else. And boy, he wasn't kidding. That match with Brubaker was something special. And then, fast forward to years later at Chicago Style, you're fighting, you're doing all your stuff. And then all of a sudden, after the pandemic, your character morphs into a mask. Your story is so interesting. And that's what makes me excited to do this, because it's almost like you've had 3 careers, maybe even more than that. There was the guy that I saw fight, and we got pictures all over the post we did of, with you, locking up with Ali and you holding titles as a younger man. And then we've got all the pictures of Hades X1X. With all of these things that you have done in this business, I'm interested to know what made you start. What about this business took someone like you from just a person to someone that seems to be so in tune with everything that goes on?
Well, I started watching wrestling in 94, 95. And, when Nitro and Raw were going back and forth, I'd flip channels between. I actually started watching WCW. They're the company that I found out about first. I'd seen Superstars on Saturday mornings a couple of times, but nothing at that point in time really ever hooked me and really drew me in. But it wasn't really until I saw the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12 between Michaels and Bret Hart that Red knows what I'm talking. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Everyone knows what you're talking about.
That match is responsible for so many people in my generation just absolutely being engrossed and falling in love in pro wrestling. At that point in time, 60-minute matches on mainstream for mainstream companies like WCW and WWF at the time did not happen. And the fact that they could go out there and, captivate an audience for 60 minutes. Now, obviously there are certain people that will tell you that match did not age well compared to the things that we see today, but the level of athleticism today is just absolutely inhuman compared to back then. But just the masterclass that was. I remember when I got into wrestling and I actually started training, I went back and I watched that match just trying to look for flaws as far as like the execution of things and the timing of things. And, it was very challenging, but I learned a lot from going back and dissecting things like that. But it was guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Flair, Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko. The Monday Night Wars was one of the things that really engrossed me. And it wasn't, the wrestling was what it was during the Monday Night Wars, so I obviously sought out other things because at the end of the day, I'm always going to be about the wrestling. The stories is always a big part of that. Don't get me wrong. But the thing that always drew me in wrestling and really got me into it and really kind of captivated me was the athleticism and the storytelling inside of the ring that basically is supplemented by the angles and the vignettes and the promos and talking people into the building and all of that. And that, yeah, if I had to say the genesis of me really wanting to get into the wrestling business, I would say it was that match at WrestleMania 12.
So how did you get there? How did you get there? So you started to train. Where did you train?
I was the last student of the LWF Bump Factory. Shout out to Billy Wack and LWF. I started going to indie shows and watching LWF back when guys like Acid, Vic Capri were, and they're like really like at the top of the card and really bringing people in and putting asses in the seats. And I remember the first show I saw was out in Crestwood and they had like over 800 people there, and it absolutely blew me away. The level of wrestling, the presentation. I had never seen anything like that. I never knew something like that existed. And I've told Asa this in several conversations that he was one of the big reasons why I wanted to join the independents, because I saw what he was doing. He looked like a guy that could be on TV, but here he was out there killing it in front of 800 people doing things I had never seen before. He had an awesome look, super athletic, had the it factor, like you saw him in the ring and you're like, why is this guy not on TV? And then, to see that and then basically just beg my mom, because I was 16, 17 at the time, to sign the waiver, to sign me over basically to LWF's Mercy, to start training there. And I oftentimes asked her, I'm like, you wouldn't let me play football in high school, but you signed my waiver to become a professional wrestler. Why did you do that? And she always just smiles and she looks right at me and right in the eyes, like, you and I both know you would have forged my signature and you would have made it happen anyway. So I just wanted you to have my full support at that point. So I started training at the LWF Bump Factory with Brandon Bishop. I was there for maybe a couple of months. They were kind of on their way out, and they shut down. I was on one of their last shows. I wrestled a wrestler by the name of Mimic, who I was actually a big fan of too. He's my size, similar kind of style as to what I wanted to do. Main event of that show, I think, was Colt Cabana against Julian the Warlock, who's also another guy that doesn't get enough credit in Chicagoland, in my opinion. Julian, awesome dude. And then from there, I started. Brandon Bishop basically opened up a school, with Bear. Yeah, sorry, my dogs are gonna be going crazy from here, from time to time. So I'm
It's
trying to
okay.
keep
We have dogs every week.
them.
Somebody's got a dog somewhere.
So, and then from there, I started training there. So rewinding before I even got to LWF, I had 2 matches under Brandon's company. My first singles match, and then I did 2 matches at his next show, and then he kind of shut down and didn't run anymore. And then after that, I had a VHS tape with 3 matches on it, and I basically made several copies of it, and I mailed it out to people. I'd drop it off. I'd show up to help, set up and tear down rings. I did Red knows how it went back in the day. There'd be like 1 or 2 other people with me responsible for tearing an entire ring down, setting up chairs, the production aspect of it, everything. Like the armies of people that are at shows nowadays, like I hope kids realize how awesome they have it right now, and that as long as everyone as long as everyone is working together as a team, it gets done way faster and it's way less stressful. Like you don't have to do anywhere near as much legwork as we used to back. And I'm not trying to be the old guy, yelling at clouds, but it's true. Red, you're as old as you feel, buddy. I mean, come on, you feel you run around like a 23-year-old. So it's definitely changed from for a lot of in a lot of ways for the better, and some not. But that's pretty much the genesis. And then I got into MSPW, and then from there I basically was just trying to run and gun and wrestle every weekend I possibly could. That's how I went to IWA Mid South. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things there. That's where I met guys like Marche and Red and all of them. And then we went to Elite Pro, and then basically just everything kind of snowballed and went from there.
You have got quite a rich basis from where you've come from to where you are now. Now, back when you were a young man and you were just starting out and you were in your prime, did you ever think that at one point, you would be, so wrapped up in what goes on behind the scenes? I mean, does any wrestler really think that they will do that at some point?
I honestly never had the thought in my head that I would be here right now, booking, promoting, running, producing an independent wrestling company. It never really was in my mind. I was so focused on my matches that night and doing the best that I can. And everything with wrestling is timing. It's all timing. I'll tell you right now, at times I think I was good in my career. At times I was overrated. At times I was underutilized. At times I was overpushed. Like I'll be the most honest person about the way I was utilized as a performer in the independents in the United States and in the Midwest. But timing is everything. And I think one of the things that I fell victim to was at the time that I broke in, there was this wave right before I broke in of all the guys you see like main eventing AEW shows, like the Bryan Danielsons, the CM Punks in the WWE right now, the Joes, all those guys, they were building their name like right before I broke in, and that wave basically left and went on to bigger things. And there wasn't really a whole lot left over, so this big team in Mid-South and, and PWG and these other companies, they all basically went on to bigger things at the same time with Ring of Honor and then kept pushing forward. And the small guys really weren't as accepted as they are now. Like I tell everybody, I'm like, man, I wish I could have broken in now. Who knows where I would have wound up? I have no idea. I mean, I don't dwell on the what ifs. I'm very happy with the things I've experienced and the things I've been afforded and the journey I've been on and the people I've had a chance to meet. And I tell everybody that my time in wrestling has prepared me for life more so than school or any other job I've ever had. Just the types of situations you get put in, the stress that you're put under. You really have to be able to think on your feet, and you have to be diplomatic at times you don't want to be. And especially with my current profession, that helps me out a lot. So to go back to your original question, I had zero, like back at the very beginning in 2004, 2005. I had no idea I would ever be right here doing what I'm doing now.
I think that's what I find the most remarkable about you overall, from all the periods that I've known you. You have done amazing work right along. That has been documented in the annals of wrestling history. But I don't know if everybody realizes that you might be doing some of your finest work right now, because CSW right now is, to me, at a zenith that I have never seen an independent company from our area go. And I know people will talk about other places, AAW, freelance, etc. But there is a vibe in Franklin Park right now that, quite frankly, I don't think exists without you doing what you do and the way those shows are put together and the way we do them. And I don't think that people give you, not that you're looking for credit, but I don't think this drink is as sweet if you're not the guy stirring it. And I've worked at CSW before you and during you, and the difference is it's really impressive. And not that you need to have your ego inflated. That's not what this is. But I people know what a great wrestler you were. I mean, when I was talking about having you on the show, people are messaging me, oh, ask him this, oh, ask him this, oh, I remember when he did this. So your career well documented. But Hades right now, I think, is the most impressive I've ever seen him, because you still do wrestle, but while you're wrestling, you do many other things that wouldn't be done right if you weren't there to do it. Because I have been at CSW shows where you haven't been there, and I know what it's like when you're there and when you're not there. And I just want people to understand that the mind you have for this business is unlike anybody I've ever worked with. You just seem to know the right buttons to push and the right things to say at the right time. And I think that is a rare gift, especially in this business where Rion says at least 14 times every show he's on, if you could take away the ego and the pride, it would be a brilliant place to work. And you seem to find a way to navigate all of that. And I think it's real. I sometimes just sit there and watch you do what you do after a show is over, just because I'm always trying to, so what's he? I wonder what he's doing. He's over here and he's over here and he's doing this. So, we're always watching, trying to see what you're doing, and then you understand why. And I just wanted to give you that credit, because we get to talk a little bit when we're at these shows, but I never get to tell you what I see and what I think specifically. And I just think that it's important that people understand your value in this business. And like I said, I'm just happy to be working with you and for you, because I think this is a great time in wrestling, and it's a great time at CSW because you're making it a great time. And I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you and I appreciate the kind words. Getting into CSW, back in 2019, I decided, I was talking with my wife actually, and I was talking about possibly starting my own company. But at the time, even now, the whole landscape is very oversaturated. It's very easy to rent a ring and start a show. And hey, if you want to do it, God willing, have at it and have fun. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to talk negatively about you. Just know what you're getting.
We
know what you're getting involved in, because it's not for everybody. People have started running companies and running shows, and like I said, I only have 4.5 years of this aspect of pro wrestling. I brought with all the experience that I had before that, and I ultimately came to the decision because I had a history with Steve Boz, who I loved to death, awesome guy. He's another guy I don't think gets enough credit for his contributions to the Chicagoland area. And I came with the idea of there's good bones here, but there needs to be creative direction. There needs to be an overhaul. I'm all like, Steve, I'm all about presentation. The first thing that people see is the flyer, and then, the photos, and then they come to the show, and then they see the setup, and then they see the ring, so it all comes together, in one big package. And that's kind of that was my vision when I came in. I was like, we need a new logo. We need to invest in the presentation. We need to invest, like in our people a little bit better. We need to be a little bit more selective of our people. Because let's be real. If you're not going to go out there and invest in yourself, why should we invest our time and money and put you on our flyer and,
100%.
have you take up real estate in our ring and on our run sheet, So, um, I love what we're doing at CSW. I love the fact that every single time, every single show, I'm learning something different. I think everyone is. I think one of the things that makes us successful is that, going back to what you were talking about, the ego thing, we try and have everybody check their egos at the door, because there's not one person that makes CSW run and pushes that machine forward. Everybody there, from the guys and the girls that help with setup and tear down, and that are the runners on the show, to the referees, to the commentators, to Derek doing the camera and the editing and all of that, and doing the trons, and to our guy Brandon doing the music and making sure people are getting microphones when they need it, and just doing all the troubleshooting before and during the show, to all the guys and the girls that are constantly out there busting their ass in the ring, trying to push the limit and, and get better. And it's not, that's the thing that I think really makes us special. It's not any one thing. It's everything together, everything working together. We're definitely, I mean, we're far from perfect, but there's no company that is. And I love learning. I love asking people, what they see that we're doing and what they think we can do better and what we're doing well. Like, a lot of people are very quick to shit on whatever you're doing, but they're very slow to be like, oh, well, you're doing this well. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, we can kind of look at our numbers, we can look at our, social media stuff, we can kind of tell what we're doing well. That's kind of the one nice thing about social media as far as metrics go. Otherwise, social media is one of the most evil things on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned. Something designed to bring us together has driven us more further apart than ever. But that's a story for a different day.
That is an amazing statement that I will refer to often.
So it's just, and thank you for, again, for your kind words, because, I don't do it for the credit, but it is nice, to hear that. I'm a human being at the end of the day. And then seeing, and the other thing too, that I really like doing this is for like, I came into this and I got into CSW in the capacity I am because I wanted to give back to independent wrestling. I wanted to give back to wrestling. I wanted to leave it in a better state than where it was when I found it. That's all I've ever wanted to do. I just want to create a place where we have a locker room where people can come and be excited, be creatively involved. Obviously, if someone comes to me with a great idea that's not mine and we can use it, awesome. I have zero issue with that. But I have no problem telling people no when the ideas don't really sync up with what we're trying to do and don't benefit the company and everyone else involved. I really enjoy the creative process. This is a show week, so this week is probably my most busy as far as like just fine tuning and changing things for the show. Because I normally do multiple drafts per show, and it's normally, Steve, as you know, it's not finalized until the night
Hard
before,
subject to change.
and sometimes it changes the day of. So you have to be able to adapt and go with the flow. I remember the first couple of hurdles that I encountered, I freaked out, and now I embrace the mentality of, okay, it's fine. We're going to get through this. And anytime we've been met with adversity or, crazy changes, we use all the tools around us, and, we listen to all the people that we have at our disposal, and we correct the course, and, we go down a path that has so far been advantageous to us. So I try not to look at the adversity of problems that come the week of the show, as negatively as I used to. But it's been very rewarding. It's been awesome to see the growth of so many people that are on our roster, and, the things that they've been able to go out and do, like somewhat as a result of working with us. It's just awesome, the amount of really good and quality people that we have under our roof.
Red, I'm gonna just keep asking questions, so I'm gonna give you
I know you are.
to pick the brain of Mr. Hades before I just run roughshod over this whole thing, because I've got like 16. I could go on all night, but Red, I want to give you a chance because I know you guys have history.
Who, us? Nah, just some kid. No, dude, he was like when we stepped into Mid-South. So Jason said it perfect. Um, for me to be a fan for years. So I was that guy. So I was at shows. So I was at Mid-South when they were in Highland. And I'm sitting there with Joe and AJ Styles tearing up a gym room that's no probably bigger than your dining room. Like, and I'm watching like these dudes are the shit. So that was always a goal. Like, I've got to get to Mid-South. It fell in our laps. We took the opportunity. That was one of those things that we were blessed with. But the locker room wasn't the same from years prior.
Oh, yeah, no way.
Because years prior, you could, again, Joe, AJ Styles, CM Punk, like all these people, I was like, yes. But when I met Hades was the lightweight champ, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. But I was never one to peek through the curtain until somebody said, we check out this kid. And it was like, oh, dude got some talent. All right, but cool. All right. And then we started bumping paths with Elite. And he even did earlier in his career. I think you did at least 2 CSW shows when we were at the Pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
So, and one of them, if I'm not correct, was against a mass wrestler named Alto. So that was the match that fucking blew my mind. Because to find out their ages, I was like, oh shit. These are kids, but they are tearing how the fuck do we go out there and go after that shit? I was like, I'm done. Dear, pack the car, get the kids. Fuck that. Marche, let's go home. Fuck that. We can't compete. And they started popping up everywhere. And when we got to Elite, like and I wasn't even in the match. It was Jason Hades versus Acid Jazz. And it was during that time where Jazz was trying to get into the Soul Touches. Man, Hades made Jazz ass work that night. And I mean, made him work. And me and Marche are behind this little door and we're just peeking out like, Jazz blown up already. He can't fucking hang. It was hilarious because Jazz can hang with anybody. But this night, no, buddy. It was like Hades' ass making his ass work, boy. And Hades was always that guy. Like, he never had an attitude. He never had like a chip on his shoulder, at least to me. He just came in, did what he was asked to do, and it was like, fuck, like, I like this dude. Like, he's real cool. And just over the years, like, when we got to work at Dreamwave, I always tell the story of Thanksgiving feast because that shit never, ever will be repeated ever again anywhere. Nowhere. To fight with your friends, throwing real life food at each other, it was like everybody was a senior in high school saying, fuck it, food fight, yes. Like, and I love Hades. Like, now, I will pin that by saying when he's working now as backstage, you can't get 2 words in with his ass. I've been there and I'm like,
He's a busy
Hades!
man.
And he's like, no, I get it. But, you know, when you haven't seen somebody in a while, you know, you're excited. You're like, Hades, what's up? He's like, hey, Red. All right.
You got to come to more than one show a year. You come to the Windy City so you can walk in and be Windy
Yeah, you come to our biggest, busiest show of the year, right?
Jesus Christ.
A lot of moving parts.
That's
Number of shows.
Hey, that's the show where I'm always seeing. I know I get ring time, right? You know, so
I'll tell you, those are my least favorite ones. Not that it's not spectacular and splendid, but when we go out there to induct the Hall of Famers, like, all right, you got 12 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I get out there and I'm like, there ain't no fucking way they're gonna do
it's been a couple
no
of
matter
times.
what I do.
I'm sitting right there, Gorilla, talking to Brandon, and I'm like, I don't want to do it, but you're gonna have to play some music soon if they don't wrap this up, man.
And it just keeps going. And if you watch me in the ring, I'm like, I'm looking over, trying to. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. But
hey, well, for me, it was when you guys let us, me, Marsha, and Jazz, induct Willie. My intro was like that. Like, I knew what I was saying. Cool. Now, Willie gets the mic. Oh, shit. All right. And
Willie has a bad habit of doing bad things on the mic in Franklin Park. I'm just saying.
And I didn't know he was like, nobody told me there's this segment while the induction is going on. And I'm like, why the fuck is Chris Miller out of here? What the hell is going? Like, I am looking dumbfounded. Like, is this happening now? And then eventually I figured out what was going on. But it was like, now y'all told us to be done. And what time? Y'all know Willie in the ring, right? Okay. As long as y'all know Willie is in the ring.
I think surprisingly that segment only went over like by 2 minutes, if I remember correctly.
Got to stick to your times. You got to stick to your times.
Hey,
and don't hit the guardrails, Marche.
He falls on deaf ears. He's gonna do it. That's just
right.
What he does.
Of course, it's Shay.
So,
you were talking about Hades, you know, doing everything and working everyone and just being a good person coming in and doing this job. I remember at the end of the GPW promotion, the last couple of shows where Turtle and I were just way over our heads. We were way over our heads. We were winging it. We had never done anything like this before. And you came in and you had 2 really good matches. And I don't think I ever thanked you properly because I don't think nobody really enjoyed those shows at all because it was a complete clusterfuck because there was a whole other faction trying to close us down and we were just trying to honor the commitment. But you had a match with Renvar. Do you remember this match with Renvar?
I know I think we had 2 at GPW.
You did, but you had this one match where you guys were battling for a real fucking sword.
Oh yeah.
That was some cool ass shit because you guys are up there and that's a real fucking sword. And we're in the back going, that's a real sword. And he's like, got it down on you. And you're like this. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
We were just like, yeah, we're going to go out and have fun.
You sure did.
Well, Colin's a blast to work with, and he had that. And he's like, well, what about this? And I'm like, I'm all for it. Let's do it. It's pro wrestling.
You gave us way more than we deserved at that point, and you gave Nubby the greatest. He still talks about that match to this day.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, and then I remember
he wanted it so badly.
When I found out it was going to happen, I was like, all right, I'm going to think of some ways we can really get a lot of heat and get him some favor in that, and I kind of put it together in my head, and I was super excited about it, and I pitched it to the powers that be, and they were completely fine with it, and yeah, that was a good time. That was a lot of fun.
So
I had
we
a lot of
always
fun doing it.
appreciated you being as cordial as you were during a time where there was just a lot of unrest and stupidity going around. That's why watching you do what you do now, having some knowledge of how it's supposed to work, you do it so well because we were so bad and it was so hard and you make it look easy. And I know it's not.
I just try and be mindful, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, and me, being in the role I am with CSW. One of the things that I bring is I've worked for a wide variety of companies and a wide variety of promoters and different types of people. So I know what it's like to be fucked over by a promoter, be told that, okay, well, you do this, I'll give you this, and then you go back and the envelope is light. Like I'm completely against that because our people come first. If you can't invest in your people and show them that you care, because one way of showing them that you care is financially. They're obviously not going to be happy, and you're not going to get the most out of them. So I know all the tricks. I'm one of many that is owed hundreds of dollars from Ian Rotten. But at the end of the day, I have zero issues with Ian. I know a lot of people that do, but while I was there, he treated me well. And there are other promoters, that I don't agree with. I don't get along with. It is what it is, But at the end of the day, we're all different, and I just try and put my best foot forward and try and be a guy that people can say like he's always treated me fairly. He's treated me with respect and he's treated me fairly. And I don't like blowing smoke up people's asses. I don't like lying. If people are going to come to me for an opinion, good or bad or whatever, indifferent, I'm going to try and be as honest as I possibly can while also being respectful of them, because I've seen it go the other way too, where people, they'll be honest with you, but they're not going to sugarcoat anything. They're not going to be mindful of what they're actually putting out, so there's good and bad with that too. But yeah, man, like the GPW stuff, that was fun. That was like my first, one of the first companies along with Crash Tested that I actually started wrestling for, realistically, because they were just so close to my house. After I took my sabbatical, I stopped wrestling for Dreamwave in 2013. And then because I just didn't like wrestling anymore. And then I came back and I did a one-off with Freelance. That was the one and only time I ever wrestled Vic Capri. We main evented one of their shows before they really started getting hot at the Abbey. And I took it after 2014. I didn't come back until 17, and I've been back ever since 17. With really no breaks, either wrestling or promoting or whatever. And I came to the conclusion last year that CSW, I best serve CSW in the capacity that I'm at now. Because things were, I looking back at it now, I really can't believe that I wrestled and I ran the shows and booked and promoted the shows. I can't believe I was able to do both. And I definitely see the difference in the quality of shows now that I'm like, for me, I have to be all in one or the other. I can't, if I try and spread myself into both categories, they're both going to suffer. So on the one hand, it's not fair to me as far as the matches go. And then on the other hand, it's not fair to an entire company of people that are trying to put on the best show and matches that they possibly can. So I came to the conclusion I'm just going to write myself off. I'm not done by any means. I've talked to a couple of companies recently about coming in, and doing stuff this year. I'm definitely open to bookings and working. It's just that it's definitely a lot less stressful and more fulfilling when I can go to a company and just worry about wrestling. Just worry about, all right, I want to give the audience and the promotion and the promoter the best match I am capable of, and also the person I'm in the ring with, of course. And just focus on that. And then at CSW, it is, how do I take the strengths of every single person on every single one of the segments of the show and, make them even more strong, make them stronger, and then hide their weaknesses, and that way the company looks stronger. So yeah, looking back, I can't believe I did both. And I definitely saw a decrease in quality of my matches, trying to do both and then run the shows too. So I got tired of all of that and was
There was
like,
a
all right.
lot going on in those days.
Yeah.
So you're taking bookings.
Mhm.
Don't you wouldn't it be pretty cool if we brought Hades down to Joliet? I think that would be pretty badass.
Well, yeah, it's always been like it doesn't matter who's run down there, like IWA, Blitz, like Joliet just has a built-in audience. It's a lot like LaSalle. They have a built-in audience for wrestling that loves pro wrestling. loves to support the wrestling that's going on. They're the types of fan, like the Joliet fan base and then the LaSalle fan base. They go to the show and they are just engrossed in what they're seeing. They're not on their phones. They're not being like, oh well, I know that was messed up, so let's let them hear about it. It's okay. These men and women are out there putting their bodies on their line on the line for our entertainment, and they appreciate that. They are some of the most appreciative fans. I don't know about you, but like they're the most appreciative fans that I've ever worked in front of. And I always felt fulfilled after working out in front of them because they really support what they're seeing, and it makes the shows a lot better too. Like you have that type of connectivity with the audience, when they actually care and you're not trying to get blood from a stone. It makes it a lot more fun for everybody involved and the audience and the performers in the ring.
Man, there is no, and I've stated it many times on this show, there's no crowd like a LaSalle crowd.
Mhm.
None. Um, and that's to me. I got there after you guys, but to see the way during and after the show, how the fans embraced all of us, took us out, you know, like hell, some of you guys got to stay. Everybody's at the after party. Some of you guys stayed, you know, with people, you know, it was like, what the hell? Like, I was the only idiot that always drove home late at night. Like, I got to get home. My wife will kill me, you know. But dude, the energy LaSalle has, like, and my intent was to be there this past weekend, but due to family obligations, had to deal with something. But I plan on being at anniversary, if nothing else, especially since I'm on sabbatical, to tell the people of LaSalle, thank you. Like, you saved me. And dude, to answer Steve's question, I would love to have you in Joliet. Um, the
And they
talent
love
that is,
history in Joliet. They love history. I mean, they're loving the three rings who are back now, at least for a little while. And I think that would be cool to have Jason Hades and the kill switch, as somebody mentioned on Facebook on the post. I think that would be really cool. Speaking of Dreamwave, when you came back to Dreamwave recently and you had your fight with Christian Rose, you hadn't been there in a minute. What was that like for you going back to a place that you really thrived in for a while?
I mean, it was definitely a big hit of nostalgia. At the time when Dreamwave originally came, because I was actually in the inaugural match of Dreamwave with 450, or as everyone knows him now as Mecha Wolf, and we opened the first Dreamwave show. And at that time, I was actually really getting burnt out with wrestling. I was just really getting tired of wrestling in front of the smaller Mid South crowds where we would murder each other, and all that, and not really get a whole lot out of them sometimes, depending on where we were at. And I just was getting burnt out. I felt beat up. And then I had that match in LaSalle. It was packed. It was sold out, and they reacted for literally everything we did. And I mean, Jay was one of the first people to kind of give me a platform as a heel, to kind of, because everywhere else I was basically a baby face. And at Dreamwave I was allowed to kind of be a heel for the first time, and I really sunk my teeth into that, and I really enjoyed it. And then he came up with the idea of me and Brubaker, and Nikki, and eventually Juice Robinson, and then Marche eventually as well in the A list. And that was a blast. I had
boo,
so much fun
boo.
in the early years. Um, doing everything with Dreamwave, and coming back, like I saw that they had been back. I did their one off. I did a tag match with Brubaker against Christian Rose and Matt Cage, and that was a lot of fun. And then they kind of went dormant for a little while, and they came back under their new model that they have now. And I was like, hey, that's awesome. LaSalle's getting quality wrestling again. And then I didn't reach out. I'm like, it is what it is. And then one day I get, a message from Jay Repsol, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, what's your availability? This is what I had in mind." And I was like, "Awesome. I would love to work with Christian Rose again." And then, I saw the poster. I'm on the poster next to Bret Hart and all that stuff, which was awesome because he's one of my all-time favorites. And so I'll always have that, as a memento and everything. And then I get to the building, and I like talking about earlier how I was promoting and producing the shows and wrestling. I hadn't had a match that I was super proud of in a long time. And I was like, this is my opportunity to basically show myself that I can still have those matches, because this is all I have to do. And then I got to the building. Tom was one of the first people. Christian Rose was one of the first people I saw. We got together. We put everything together. It was effortless. Like working, like him and I are so like-minded in the way that we create things as far as structurally in a match. And I'd be like, well, what about this? And he'd be like, well, what about this? And I'm like, well, that's awesome, but why don't we do this with that? So we were both like really enhancing everything that we had come. And it was awesome to finally be across from somebody that came with a ton of ideas. Because there's one thing that I can't stand is when I'm super excited about wrestling somebody and I have all these ideas and I ask them, well, what do you feel like doing? Because I have this, 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 and this. And they're like, oh, well, we can just do whatever you want. And I'm like, so I can take that a couple of different ways. You either don't care about working with me, which is fine. That's fine. I have no control over whether or not you care about working with me, or you just don't care about what you're doing in general, and I'm gonna suffer as a result of that. But with Christian Rose, that's not like he loves professional wrestling. It's evident by his promos and his in-ring stuff. And putting that match together, and then naturally I'm like, oh, are they gonna remember me? I don't know. Like I don't know what my reaction is gonna be when I go out there and all that. And so my music hits, I go out there, I get that like I remember there were times in LaSalle where my love for professional wrestling started to wane and my music would hit and I'd be like, all right, I'd walk out there, I'd do my thing. But this time it was like I was brand new. I had the goosebumps, I had the chills when my music hit and I heard the reaction of the people. I came out there and just they were into everything. They appreciated everything that we were doing. They understood the story that we were telling. And it was one of the most fun matches I've had since I've been back since 2017. I told Christian Rose that, I told Jay Russell that, that I really needed that match. And that match meant a lot to me, not only because I got to come back to Dreamwave, one of my favorite companies I've ever worked for, in front of the fan base, like my favorite fan base I've ever worked in front of. And just got to go out there and have a great match with Tom, like Tom. I look back on that match very fondly. I had a lot of fun. Definitely one of the more fun times I've had in a ring in a long time. And that really meant a lot to me. Doing Good as Gold was cool, but it wasn't as special to me as the match with Rose was.
Yeah, I talked to Rose after you guys had that match in the locker room before a show one time, and you're talking how enthusiastic and how much you enjoyed working with him. He echoes and equals the sentiment you have, because he's like, man, I just love working with that guy. He has got one of the great minds. I love working with people with really good minds. And yeah, I mean, like, you don't have to tell me that. I work with him one Friday every month, and I know what he is. So
I also owed him that match too, because when we had our cage match, which I'm still very proud of that cage match, a lot of the things we did, got like an amazing, a really incredible reaction from that audience. And at that point in time, I was absolutely miserable in wrestling. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I had pitched things I wanted to do because I knew I was putting him over for the belt, which was I was unbelievably happy to do, to be that guy, to basically be at the top of the mountain waiting for him because of his climb up there and the undefeated streak and everything and the way it was done and it was booked. And like I was doing things to basically, as a heel, to try and completely separate ourselves. Like I was like, all right, if we're building him, let's make him the main guy. He can main event the shows. I'll be the chicken shit heel trying to get out of the town with the belt as soon as I can. Put me on first. Separate us as much as possible until it's time, and then bring us together. And then I do the favors and everything. But I remember at that point, what I wanted to do after that match was kind of shot down, if I remember correctly. And I was kind of like, all right, well, I don't really have, any other real enthusiasm about this. So I came to the decision right before I went out there that was going to be my last one at that time. And I only told Fox, and then after the match, after we were done, I rolled over to Rose and I was like, "Hey man, I'm not trying to steal your moment, but that was my last one. For thank you so much. Enjoy your moment." And I got the fuck out of the ring. Um, and then he got to have the moment, cut the promo with the belt in the ring and everything after the match. But he always gave me shit for that, for Rain stealing a little bit of his thunder and all that, which was not my intention at all. I just wanted to thank him for that match and everything. So I felt when I got a chance to come back, and have that match with him last year, I was really excited to do so.
You're talking about these matches, the cage matches, a match with Christian Rose at Dreamwave. Are those your favorite matches, or is there one? Is it when you're thinking about your career? Is there one match that you go to in your mind that was the best I ever did, or is it kind of does it kind of depend on the period?
I mean, that's a really good question. The period definitely matters, but it's like matches mean different things to me. There are certain matches from like a performance standpoint that I really like. There's matches, just like going back and looking at it. Silas Young and I, before he broke out and and made a name for himself on the independents and Ring of Honor, and became this world class wrestler. Him and I wrestled a 60-minute Ironman match for MSPW in Coal City. And at that time, no one was doing those matches. So I'll never forget going up to him in the locker room, and I was green. I was only like 2-3 years into the business at that point in time. And he basically told me, he's like, "I'm nervous as fuck," and then you hear that from that guy who you thought was going to lead you, like it really humanized him in my mind. And, we put it together and we got through it. It wasn't a master class in 60 minutes. No, I mean, but it wasn't a bad match by any means, but I'm still very proud of that I can legitimately say that I went out there on a show and, went 60 minutes with one of the guys that wound up, being at a time one of the best wrestlers in the world. So that match means a lot to me. My match with Dingo at IWA, that right afterwards, we tore it up, and Ian comes out and invites us both into the TPI. That was the first night of a 3-show weekend, and after that weekend, everyone was talking about that match. So that match meant a lot to me. And that same weekend at Mid South, I got to wrestle Chris Hero, who, in my opinion, is probably the most overlooked and underrated professional wrestler in the history of the business. I think he's one of the all-time greats in the ring, and his mind is just incredible for the things that he knows. I look fondly on that, and that he led me through that entire match because I was so starstruck and awestruck, getting to work with him and everything. I have the match with Marche at Anniversary, where him and I were basically like, we're putting everyone on notice, and Ali and I at that time, we would compete every single show to try and steal the show. It was either him or I, in that conversation every show. And Marche and I, we're like, all right, let's take that. Let's be the best match on the best show of the year for Dreamwave. And we went out there and we did a lot of cool stuff. And, I'm very proud of that one too, because I did things that kind of stepped out of my comfort zone on. Then I have the TLC match from April Blood Showers with Jason Quick, who's one of the most athletic people I've ever met in my entire life. And we did some crazy shit in that match too, which was a lot of fun. We both walked away from that one okay, thank God. It's difficult to answer that question because I have so many matches that I look back favorably on. The cage match with Christian Rose, the first cage match with Brubaker after I turned babyface at Dreamwave, and the story we told going into that. My match with Ali at Dreamwave, in front of a sold out audience, like that match was a blast. I got to wrestle one of my best friends in front of the biggest. Him and I wrestled in front of 5 people down in Kentucky. There was literally a gigantic tree stump 8 feet away from the ring outdoors. And we went from that to wrestling in front of a packed house in LaSalle, and then he's obviously off doing all of his amazing, great things right now that he's worked his ass off to achieve and attain. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of matches that I look favorably on. The thing that I'm going to close that question with is that hopefully I will have and create more by the time that I'm done. That's the goal at least.
That is the greatest answer to a question. And it just goes to show you that that question can be answered so many different ways. And it was kind of like an anthology. It was kind of like the greatest hits. And that's kind of what I was looking for, because that's what I want people to get from this show is, I just always thought that you were overlooked for how good you were. And you were really, really good. And you just made the argument for me. And Nick Hedford on the post said, have him talk about MSPW. So we checked that box. You gave the fan what he wanted. And I'm not even going to dignify this because I don't really have to. He's kind of a pain in my ass. And Aaron Xavier wants to know why you've been ducking him for 10 years. And I don't think you've been ducking him.
No.
I think life has ducked him.
I haven't ducked Mr. Xavier at all. It's just that the stars haven't aligned. I mean, like look back to one of my previous statements. I wrestled Vic Capri one time in the 20 years I've been doing this, and he's a guy that's everywhere, wrestles, multiple promotions. He wrestled for me, for CSW, and it just never, things just, timing is everything in this business, and
yeah, timing. I could talk a few days. Anyway, well, we're gonna move right past that one. That's just too easy. So you've talked about the favorite matches. Now you've listed, from Ali to Christian Rose. Do you have a favorite opponent? Someone that you were in the ring with that meant more to you than, or is it, again, is that subjective?
going back to the favorite matches and basically adding it in addition to this question, one of my favorite opponents that I ever wrestled was probably Davey Richards. When I wrestled him 2 times in Dreamwave. The first time it was definitely like, all right, what's this kid about? Is he some indie jerk, whatever, so it was a little, he's like, he's going to test me. He's going to push me, take liberties with me, see what I can, tolerate and what I can put up with. And then the next time we basically kind of met each other on a more, like eye to eye level, like, hey, I know what you're capable of. Let's go out there and do this. And I felt like each time I was pushed, but it made me better. And to know that I can go out there with someone of his athletic caliber and, not get gassed out and be fine, really boosted my confidence. He was, I mean, say whatever you want about him nowadays. Back then, he was definitely one of my favorite people to wrestle. Ricochet too. I don't even know how many times I wrestled Ricochet, and with him, it was always like, what new creative thing can we do this time that we haven't done before? And we would always kind of push each other to try and come up with new things. And he was just like an other world, like him and Jason Quick are just otherworldly athletic, and the things that they're capable of are just insane. So Ricochet is up there. Ali, of course, like with him, it's just we could be booked tomorrow and it would still be easy. And put something together in 5 minutes that we would both be proud of. Like it's just easy with him. Him and I just go so far back. Obviously Brubaker. I mean, Brubaker and I, through all phases of my time in independent wrestling, we wrestled multiple times. And had very few like if any bad matches with him. Him and I are just very similar on the way we think about how match should go, and the story and everything, and where to put things and why to put them there. Marche, another guy. I mean, just easy, always a blast. If I tell Marche all the time, it's like, the reason why I love booking him is that I know that, like, I always look at things in threes, because we're wired that way. I always kind of look at a card after I'm done with it, and I'm like, what are going to be my 3 best matches on the show? I tell him all the time, I'm like, it doesn't matter who I put you with. I know you're going to be in that conversation of one of those 3. So he's like a guy that he's super just dependable. And even when you're working with him, he's never, with all the things he's done, and the biggest travesty in Midwest professional wrestling is that guy never got a contract from one of the like major companies, like top 2 companies. I tell him that all the time. Is that he's gonna tell you, to your face, if something makes sense. He'll be all about it. He'll be like, all right, yeah, if we can make it make sense, we'll get it in there, and I'm all for it. He's not, even with everything he's done and all the people he's worked, he's still super creative. He still has a passion and a hunger for this business, and he also gives back. Like, that's what I don't. He's another guy that does not get the credit that he deserves at all. He's so good in the ring. He can work with anybody. That's the test of a true professional, is your ability to work with anybody. A super indie guy, a WWE, AEW guy, someone that's super green, someone that's, you know, been on the independents for 20 years, and you know, that's where they've been and that's where they've done their work. You could put Marche with anybody, and that guy, you're gonna have one of your best matches. I don't think I've ever had a bad match with Marche. Um, I mean, yeah, if I had to pick, those are probably my favorite people that I've worked over the course
That
of
is
my.
quite a list. That is quite a list indeed. And now here we are, just a few days before Hearts on Fire. And you know, with all the chaos that went down at season premiere, here we are. Some questions might be answered, some more questions might be asked. A lot of people ask me, so what's the deal with Avalon and Sierra? And you know, has that been announced? I mean, they made the announcement last Friday at Logan Square, but we haven't had a graphic come out yet. What are your thoughts on now an actual official match on CSW turf between Sierra Avalon and GPA and Laney?
Well, we obviously want, you know, that rematch in our house to determine the number one couple in Chicagoland. But unfortunately, Laney injured her. She severely dislocated her elbow at a show
Oh,
on Saturday.
card
We are
subject to
so we
change.
are waiting for a response from their camp to see how we're going to proceed and move forward. As far as I, you know, Sierra and Joey, they will both be there. They will both be there ready to defend their CSW Tag Team Championships. So against who? That is, like you said, card is subject to change. Hopefully, we'll have answers in the next day or two.
Wow, see that there are things that are just happening that I don't even know about. So that's really cool.
And we also wish Laney a speedy recovery, because dislocations are absolutely terrible, especially when it takes you away from the things that you want to do and things you want to, you know, things you love. So,
and I really wanted the CSW crowd to get a taste of a match with them together, because they really tell great stories and it was really fun to watch. A lot of the matches that have been announced so far, do you have one that you're looking forward to seeing the most?
That's a tough question. I mean, the main event, Lycan and Boz against the Haykeepers, against those against the kids, that's going to be, I think that's going to be a match that's going to be slept on and is going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, everyone probably is like, oh yeah, it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be great. The girls tag match, Sky and Heather tagging for the first time ever with their storied history, against Missa and Maggie. I think that one is going to be fantastic. The one that we just announced today, Adam Stallion against Denestra for the Metro title. Those two kids can go. They've worked each other before. Now it's, you know, for our Metro Division championship. You know, I can't wait to see what those two do. There's quite a few. I mean, Shelly and Mila coming in, you know, to try and dethrone Shelly. That's going to be one to keep some eyes on. See what they're.
And then we've got the brass holes. The brass
Ah,
holes are doing
yes.
brass hole things.
That's the brass holes. The 6-man, yeah, I'm sure Marche's got some words for Schultz. And then obviously Moondog is gonna want some redemption for
But
his
what about
hand.
his hand? His hand was bludgeoned with a hammer.
As far as I know, he's healing up all right. He's got that cast on everywhere I see him going. So he's
I
taking
was there. It looked like a pound of hamburger.
taking the proper precautions. You know, at least Eric Schultz didn't get his way with the saw.
Yeah, that was hard to watch. Hard to be in there, and that happened.
To deal with. No, I mean, like, just I'm excited for every match on the show. I can't wait. I think that's one of the things I like about our shows, is that every match has the potential to steal the show, and be something that, you know, that's going to leave the fans talking about and wanting more. So
Our special guest, one of our special guests, obviously you talked about Mila. Talk about our other special guest.
yeah, I was actually just about to get to that. That match is going to be, I mean, actually bonkers. Gringo Loco, world traveled, awesome guy, has just worked his ass off for years. And that to see a guy that has just busted his ass, grinding, working, getting better, improving, to see the success that he's experienced and getting flown all over the place and traveling and getting to work for all these companies and work for all these, you know, work against all these really talented people. unbelievably happy for him. Just like could not like a nicer guy could not be more successful. So it's awesome to see all the success he's had. And then Quintero, product of the CSW Wrestling Academy. I've had my hand in training him. He's one of Oz's trainees. Tons and tons and tons and tons of potential. Unbelievably humble, eager to learn. All is always showing up to work hard. He always is getting better. Every single time I see him step foot in the ring, he is getting better in some way, shape, or form. And he puts in the work. He is an example of what happens when you put in the work and you have that talent, just the sky's the limit. And then let's not forget about the third person, that people are sleeping on, Shane Hollister, a guy that's done a ton of things. Him and I walked similar paths in pro wrestling, and he's another guy that I think is really slept on. And just like everything that he does is so good, from character work to to his promos to just like watch one of his matches, even today, watch one of his more recent performances. The way he moves with a purpose when he's in the ring. There's no wasted movement. He knows what he's doing. I think it's good for us that he's not working everywhere, because I'm sure if he wanted to, he probably could. But it's like I love having him as a part of our roster, and he gives back to the kids. He's willing to talk to anyone that's willing to take that feedback from him. He's another guy that is a good leader in our locker room, and has definitely helped a lot of people. So that match, that it's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be pretty nuts. I mean, how could it not be when you have Gringo Loco in there, with Shane Hollister and someone as I mean, Shane's athletic in his own right. I think
He's
a lot of people
amazing.
don't
Yeah.
really acknowledge how athletic Shane is. And then Quintero's, freak athlete too. So that match, I think a lot of people are very excited for.
Very, very excited for. And then, of course, you're talking about locker room acquisitions. Axel Rico is certainly going to have his hands full with the latest CSW roster addition. In quotations, the Warhorse, Jake Parnell. That's a very interesting dynamic that has kind of showed up out of nowhere in January at season premiere. What's your take on where this is going?
Well, I mean, from a promoting standpoint, I would say that this match definitely has CSW championship implications, especially from everything that the Hate Keepers and Warhorse did to Lycan at the end of our season premiere show. Obviously, Lycan's not the type of guy that's gonna sleep on actions like that, and he's gonna have something to say about that. And it's inevitable. Lycan and Warhorse's paths are gonna cross. And when that happens, it's going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit CSW. It's going to benefit the audience, because there's absolutely no way that's going to be anything but amazing. So we just need to make sure everyone's, physical well-being is taken care of in that, especially with the animosity that has been bred by the actions of Warhorse coming in late. But hey, at least this month he gets to channel it into an actual athletic contest against Axel Rico, who is no slouch himself, who had a very impressive win against Marche at the season premiere.
Another CSW homegrown talent, which speaks volumes. You put him and Quintero and some of the others, they're the people that were in the Futures Royal for a long period of time, and here they are on the main card.
Axel's another guy that, he just put his nose down and basically did the work. And he was always asking people, what about this? What about that? If I do this, is it going to be better than this? And he puts in the work, man. He's always in the ring training. He like the saddest thing that happened was when he went down with that injury. He was able to, he had the story that we had with him and Lycan, and they had that awesome TLC match, and then he winds up getting injured, so it's like he has the defeat of losing the championship that he had an amazing run with. He had a great run for us with the CSW championship, and then he gets hurt, and then I remember, checking in on him multiple times, like, hey man, this all is going to be right here waiting for you. And sometimes when you go away, it makes the heart grow fonder, and you're going to have a triumphant return. I know this, it's going to be great. We're going to do it the right way. And then comes Second City Showdown 3. He has a really good match with Shane Boucher, shows everybody that he's back, he means business. And then he starts off the year with an awesome match against Marche. I remember being in the back just watching that. I just turned into a fan, just enjoying some pro wrestling out there in Franklin Park. And I don't expect this match with Warhorse to be any different because Axel knows that it has implications towards the CSW Heavyweight Championship, and I'm sure he would like to get a rematch against Lycan, because he never got an opportunity after the TLC match. And I'm sure, given the change in circumstances now, it would be one-on-one, and it wouldn't be a gang of people that he'd have to try and overcome like it was in the TLC match. So that's another thing that CSW fans can have something to look forward to.
CSW has grown leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. And right now, in my opinion, they have one of the most stacked women's divisions that's out there in this business right now to me. Can you speak on that?
It's just been, I mean, it's been a journey. I mean, starting it. I mean, basically when I came in 2019, they had just started using Heather Reckless and Sky. And then I immediately saw, I actually got to work with Heather very early in her time in CSW, immediately saw the potential in her. And then I watched a couple of Sky matches and I saw the potential in her too. And, they were, and then we also at that point in time, we had Sierra too. So it's like, those were like the three kind of, cornerstones. Um, at the genesis of me coming in, and then after that we just tried to build off of that. Now we have the addition of Maggie. Missa was also there too. She was probably the fourth pillar if you have to talk about pillars and everything. And then Missa went away for a little while and now she's back. And we have young talent like Lily, and then we have Amina. Maggie's fantastic. We have people that are that we're initially going to start getting opportunities, but they decided to go and basically get more training and try and improve their craft. And Haven Harris, so she'll probably be coming back at some point this year. I just started to really see the vast improvement in women. I mean, women's wrestling has always been awesome. Just in certain areas it's been done very well, and in other areas just not so much. But I think the group of girls that we have together now, I mean, with Shelly's, newer to the industry and everything that she's been able to accomplish. She's been working hard, busting her ass, to get to where she's at. And that, I mean, that was evidenced by her climb it was meteoric. Her climb to the top kind of reminded me, of Skies in a way. Obviously different paths to get there, but the anticipation to that moment where they finally, got to the mountaintop. I think there's definitely some similarities there. And then also having Sky, you know, and all the success that she's earned and achieved, and she still loves us and comes back on occasion, which is amazing to have her at our disposal. It's easy for me to have such a deep women's roster, especially with intergender wrestling becoming more and more of a thing. You have to have very qualified and talented people to be able to do that. And I think all of our people do that very well. I can plug and chug them in any spot on the show, and they're going to excel at what I need them to do. So especially with last year, the way that we were building it, and it led to that ladder match, they got a lot of views online. All the girls went out there and they definitely took risks. They put their bodies on the line, and from everything I could tell, for the most part, they were proud of the end results, as was I. So it'll just be interesting to see where we go, because we have so many quality, just talented people in that division for us.
You've always dabbled in some really good outside visitors. When Ashley Dembois came in, and this month Mia is coming in, and Shazza McKenzie. You've dotted it with outside interests that just seem to gel well with our core, and I think that's been very helpful too, because the match quality, it doesn't diminish; it gets better.
No, I would completely agree. And one of the things that I'd like to do, moving forward, is maybe get some, outside talent, of a larger scale, as far as, supplementing the women's division, giving some of the girls an opportunity to work some of the bigger names in women's wrestling, because so many of them deserve to be on that stage, and on that playing field. That, I think that we should start. I'm intending on looking in that direction moving forward, especially in the second half of the year.
Before I let C-Red give you the roses, because C-Red gives roses to everybody that comes on our show, and I can't wait to see what he has to say about you. Where do you, what are your hopes for CSW? Where would you like it to go? What if you could have it go any way, what is your expectation and your hope as we play forward in 2024?
I mean, my ultimate hope for CSW is just for it to be a destination promotion in Chicago that people know that they can come and work hard at. They're going to develop skills that they can take forward into the bigger companies, you know, that are on TV and, you know, that are bigger, you know, bigger on a national scale. And they'll be better suited because they wrestled for us under, you know, in our program, under our roof. Um, like I said before, my whole goal with doing this was to basically give back to the independent wrestling business, because it afforded me so many opportunities. I have so many stories, so many friends, so many experiences that I was able to generate because of independent wrestling. And wrestling doesn't owe any of us anything, you know. So it's just like the life that it's afforded me, experience wise, and just I've felt fulfilled because of independent wrestling at certain times in my life. So to be able to just give back to that and create a place in CSW that people can come and be excited about, not have to worry about politics and locker room heat and all that stuff, and just, you know, go and work. Like the main focus should be to go out there and create something that you're going to be proud of and that you can showcase and you can use to better yourself and to basically elevate and to further yourself on your journey. You know, I don't want to take anything away from anybody. I want to give, you know, opportunities to people and just help out as much as I possibly can. And I think CSW is getting there. I would like to get to a point where we, you know, we have to find a bigger building because we're selling out on a consistent basis. Obviously that is the goal. And we're constantly adding things to our production, to our presentation. And that comes with, you know, believing in your people and utilizing people that are really good at what they do, you know. From Derek with the camera, filming the shows and doing the editing, to camera guy gimmick Nick, doing excellent photography for the promo pictures and the show photography that, you know, that makes us look all that much better on social media. Yeah, I mean, ultimately just keep doing what we're doing and just keep growing. That's ultimately the end goal.
All right, so Red is going to give you the rose. I forgot one thing that I wanted to ask you, so I got to ask one more question. Sorry, Red. We see on social media that CSW, SCW, and POW are doing this big show in Kankakee. What do you know of this?
I just know it's a benefit show for Mr. Bill, and I'm not really closely affiliated with the happenings of that. Basically, from my knowledge, and Red, you can obviously correct me on this because you probably know more about it than I do. It's a lot of Windy City guys coming together to pay homage and, you know, pay their respects. And it's cool that all the companies can come together and do that. When you have a cause like that, I think the beautiful side of professional wrestling comes out, because everyone kind of puts their egos aside and realizes that this is about something bigger than them. It's about, you know, a life that was very heavily involved in wrestling, loved wrestling, gave to wrestling, and that becomes the focus instead of, oh, I need to get this in. I'm the bigger star. We're doing this because of that. We're, you know, it gets rid of all the bullshit, you know, and then the actual important aspects of pro wrestling come out.
But that is the best answer. That's fantastic. All right, Red, give me your roses. And you better done your homework this time.
I don't have to do homework when it comes to Hades. Um, I would think over his whole career, Hades knows that I love him. I have seen a young, this is legit one of the times where I can say I've seen a young boy come into the business and grow into an awesome man. And not just wrestling. He is a awesome husband. I know his profession. I outside of wrestling. And I know a lot of people. And when I give them his name, I hear nothing but good things that come back. Hades has always been special to me because he's genuine. What you see is what you get. Not saying I've never seen him pissed off, never saying I've never seen him upset.
You
He's
don't want to
human.
see it. You don't want to see
No,
it.
I've seen it. I've seen
Oh, me too. Don't want to see it.
it. But I love Jason person. I never had to worry about if any of my guys was working Hades. Are they gonna get hurt? I never like that was like the left field. Like, if anything, which I hated, is I couldn't do my job because I was so enthralled with their match. And then in the back of my mind, did I get a spot? Oh, do I gotta do something? Because when Hades wrestles, it is a beautiful sight. He is one of those people. The way he moved, everything he talked about other people, but he shortchanged himself because everything you do, Jason, has a meaning. It has a purpose. It tells the story. And I love that about you, that I've never seen you, and I'm sure you've had bad matches. I've never seen you have a bad.
No, not me either.
Oh, I've had a few.
Now, Hades, the brain. I was at CSW when it started, very first show, for years. CSW was on that level when they started. I feel that oversaturation that you talked about.
Mm.
Now, me personally, and I'm not being biased and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. To me, one of the 3 top companies in the fucking state.
I appreciate that. It means
I have watched, like, dude, you got me to watch CSW on Friday nights over SmackDown. Because SmackDown would really be the only show that I would watch. Wouldn't watch Raw. I ain't got 3 hours to be put to sleep.
He's
I
telling
don't
the truth
watch.
because he would message me during shows when we were live on IWTV, and he would be messaging me off to the side as well.
Like, dude, your very first show, I had to message Steve, both Steves, because the audio wasn't right. And I'm watching.
I remember that. Yeah, they told me about that you were talking about that.
And I'm like, hey, look. And I invested because I wanted the best for CSW. But what you have put together now, and I won't even talk about when you started. Shit, just the past 2 years. Dude, you're the only company that I want to know what the fuck is going on. Like, I'm enthralled. CSW shows are the only shows that we like sink our teeth into. And I don't even work there. And I'm like, no. I love you for your friendship, and not just to me. Oh my God. The real click, the real fucking click will forever be Hades, Shay, Ali, Foxy, Brew. To me, that's that click. And not a click of assholes. You know what I'm saying? but a group of brothers that only wanted to see each other get better. And you can't find that in every fucking locker room. And that's sad that there's this core that I've seen for years. And not only did they want to help their core group out, shit, now they're helping every fucking body else out. And it was like, when you're a manager, you have a lot of fucking downtime, right? Because if I'm with Marche, okay, Marche knows I'm with him. Okay. Call me and tell me when the match is, or tell me what I got to do. Okay. I'll sit in the match. Okay. But then you get to sit back and watch me. And I didn't care. First of all, one of my, I ain't gonna say prized possessions, but it's a picture I love, is the Soul Touchers, and we're taking the picture at Elite. And we're like, okay, we're sitting there like 1, 2, 3, and Hades jumps in. And it's
I
like,
have that picture.
you still got it?
I still got it. Yeah.
I still got it.
You were a soul toucher for a minute.
I was honorary. I tried to get in for a while, man.
But it was that silly stuff that showed who Hades really was, who he was and who he is. Here's something nobody knew.
Uh-oh.
Hades gave me, when he left, he gave me a piece of his attire.
I do remember that.
Then years later, you son of a bitch, Hades hits me up. Hey, Red, I'm coming back. Do you still have that? Yeah, I got it. Oh, can you bring it to the show? Why? Oh, I'm coming back to wrestle full time, so I'm gonna need it. Son of a bitch. Like, that was, dude, during the divorce, I didn't take a lot of my shit. That I took with me.
You're lucky because he needed it again.
Well, yeah, he is lucky, right?
Yeah.
But that was one of my prized possessions. But I knew it wasn't mine. Like, I didn't create it.
You were taking care of it for a while.
Right.
Yeah,
But I knew, like, it was his blood, sweat, and tears that went into making and designing it. So I had no problem giving it back to the rightful owner. But I've never asked anybody for anything. That's how much Hades means to me. That I loved him enough that I wanted to keep a piece of the guy that I love and respect so fucking much. Because again, I was there when he started his climb in this business. Sorry you went to the LWF. You had better luck than I did. Fuck you, Machine. I love you. But to see you grow, and shit, there was a time period you cannot see a show every weekend and your name not be on the flyer. That meant you busted your ass to make it happen. So again, it's like the father in me. You know, I was proud to see you do awesome. I've never been one that wanted to see anybody held the fuck back. I wanted everybody to grow and be the best that they can be. So when you came back, I was like, okay. But then you came back under a new skies. You revamped yourself. I was fucking, it's my fucking show. Fuck it. You gave me a hard on. Like, I love the whole.
Really?
redesign of who Hades had become.
Mhm.
I was more invested now than ever. Then you stop.
Mm.
We're
But
editing that out. I'm editing that whole thing out.
you can't fucking
I don't
edit
even
shit.
need to know. I don't need to hear about that business. We all know Hades
Whatever.
looked like a bad motherfucker, and that's what he did to
Oh my
you.
God.
Dude, it's Hades. Everything he does has a purpose. And that whole new look was not the Hades that I knew, was nowhere near. And for me, think about how many guys in Hades can contest. You see guys, their look never changes.
Mhm.
And everybody, again, starts to become cookie cutter. For him to come back and reinvent himself into a completely different fucking beast. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, that was money for me. And again, the way you create stories, like, I don't know if anybody is on that level right now. Even fucking mainstream. Your stories are so fucking compelling. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, you are my Young and the Restless for wrestling. Like, I need this shit 5 days a week, but fuck, I get it 1 day a month. Like,
Mhm.
fuck.
And
Out in this,
Hades will never let Twitter dictate what he's doing in his show.
Absolutely not.
hey, out in this by saying, keep being you, Jason. I love you for who you are, who you have become. I love you as a man that you have grown into. I love you as a husband because, oh my God, I know how much you adore your wife.
Mhm.
Like,
Pretty awesome.
we've had that conversation, but I am enthralled by what you will do in the future. Um, keep pushing these young people in the right direction. Keep giving them the platform that you're giving them. Because I never see an empty seat at a CSW show. Don't ever think that I'm not paying attention what the fuck is going on. To everybody, I've only watched with you behind the wheel. You take it off. You took CSW off the gravel road into the smooth pavement that it is now.
I like that. That was very good.
Keep doing what you're doing. I hate you stop wrestling, at least at CSW. And you wrestled when you wrestled Capri. I was so mad that I had an engagement that night. Like, because I wanted to see Jason. Like, I'm a fan of Hades.
That means a lot.
I've always been, but like, you still got them super trunks with the little thing down the middle.
I do.
See? Because I remember that shit just going back and forth, flipping and flying. Like, I love you, bro. Like, you are one of the ones that even when I didn't feel good, you were there for me. Even through the divorce, you guys were there for me. I remember, and shit, I don't remember if it was this profile or another one, but you messaged me and you was like, hey, bro, I heard what happened. Keep your head up. Like, you didn't have to. You didn't. I could have just been some dude that you saw on the weekend. But you took those few minutes to say, hey, I'm here if you need. From you, it was genuine. From you, I knew it came from a good spot. So I thank you for everything that you did for my career. And again, whether you kicked me in the face, punched me in the mouth, or just sat me back and we talked shit together, I thank you for everything. Just keep doing what you're doing now, bro. You'll reach that final destination.
I appreciate the kind words, Red.
Wow,
Thank
that
you.
was pretty impressive. That wasn't just the flowers. You backed up the whole florist. That was impressive. Very nicely done. You said the mask when he became the Hades X1X. Anybody can wrestle wearing a mask, but it takes a special kind of talent to get in a new uniform and change himself completely. And that's
You
what
can't. No, I disagree with that. Anybody cannot just put on a mask.
no, what I'm saying is I could put a mask on, but when he put that mask on, he became a whole other different thing. And it was so scary for us that were there because it was just, it was so unexpected and so cool that, it's one of the all-time great personality changes that I've ever seen live in this business. And I really appreciated it. From day one when you came through that curtain with that mask. That's why we use all those pictures that you have of you coming through the curtain because it's just so fucking badass. It's sick. All right, we have kept you way longer than I thought. You'll never come back now because we've killed your whole night. Your wife's
That's
in
not
the
true.
background going like this, and I apologize for that. It's the power hour, not the hour at 45.
No. I just found out somebody got COVID at the job. It's like, what the fuck? Like, really? Like I need and they were sitting at my desk. So now I have to go in tomorrow
And that means you can't come to CSW Friday night, but you can watch us down the road on IWTV. Jason, it's been a great pleasure to have you on. Like I said, I've wanted to have you on this show for so long. I really, especially the week of a show, to come on and talk with us a little bit about CSW and all the things you got going there. We really, really do appreciate the time. I've asked many people from CSW to be on the show, and not many do, but when someone like you comes on the show, it just makes us feel all the more valid that maybe we're doing something interesting here because you wanted to be a part of it. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for many other things. When I came to CSW and became GM back in 2020, I'd come out of a disastrous situation that ended at GPW. And I didn't think I was going to be in the business very much longer because I didn't really feel like I had much worth there. But you guys always gave me a chance and you let me do some pretty cool shit for the past, it's for going on 5 years. I've been a part of CSW and, people say, what's your home promotion? And, I love all the places I work, but, CSW is the place where I became who I am. And without you guys giving me cool shit to do, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd have been done. So you have my personal thanks for letting me do the cool shit that you let me do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for all the hard work that you put in each and every month. It does not go unnoticed. So it's much appreciated.
All right. So we appreciate you. You can log out now and go enjoy the rest of your evening. And then we're going to talk about you behind your back so you can see it when you watch the show. But we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys.
Great to have you. We love you, man.
Definitely
love you, Jason.
Take care.
All right, that is the one and only Jason Hades, and you heard him here on the Power Hour. How cool was that?
Dude, I got mad love for Hades.
Man, it's just one of those things, and I have asked lots of people, asked Avalon, asked Boz, Hate Keepers, all the people that, because we want to bring everybody on here because what we do here, I think as good as anybody, if not better, is we put people over here. We let you, we go in with questions so people can see who you are. And tonight, people are going to see a side of Jason Hades that you don't see when you're on Friday night and he's running around like a crazy man running things. He was vulnerable, talking about his beginnings, talking about his favorite matches, all the people he's run with, how he left, how he came back. I think that is, that's why we love this show, is because people get to come on and we see them as people as well as entertainers and wrestlers and all of that. And I think that's our niche in what we do. I don't think anybody does it quite the way we do it. Last week we had Adonis on the show, and when I saw him this past Saturday at Frontline, he came up to me and he hugged me so hard and says, "I had the best time. I cannot thank you guys enough." And we did nothing. We gave him a Zoom password, and he came on and entertained everybody. That's the thing. This is our show, yes, but this is a show for everybody because we want everybody to be put over. Everybody that comes on this show is a better person first. I mean, we love their talent. Marche's been on here 1,000 times. Marche doesn't keep coming back because we're the greatest wrestling podcast in the world. Marche comes back on this show all the time because he's our friend. And this is a place where we can talk and have a good time. That's what the Power Hour is all about. And that's why I love you and appreciate you, because you help me bring that vision to reality. Because it's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about Zoom, it's not about any of this crap. It's not about Freaknet Studios or Johnner's podcast. It's about the people that come here and talk about their stories and tell stories and joke around and have a good time. It's a release. And I think we do that as good as anybody. I'd put us up against anybody. And our intention is good. We just want to have people have a good time, and we want to respect their worth. And everybody that comes on this show, we appreciate their worth, and we want everybody to see it. And what Hades brings into this business is unquantifiable. You can't quantify it. I hear from Marche and Christian Rose and all the people I talk to, after shows are over, about what a good dude this is. And Kevin Palmer is watching this show. Kevin, I'm going to be up your ass for the rest of time. I need Hades in Joliet. I need it. I have to have it. I don't care who he fights. I don't care if it's Jason Hades from Dreamwave or Hades X1X from CSW. That man has to come to Joliet because that crowd will love him, because he understands what that crowd wants better than anybody. To see Hades fight Christian Rose at some point, how much would we enjoy that? What about Hades versus Marche at some point? Or let's pull it back and have him fight somebody like Shaq Jordan.
No, fuck that. We need Hades to come kick Christian Rose ass right now.
Yeah.
All the bullshit he doing. So
yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But anyway,
but let me just say why I get excited. There are so many people that I have known throughout my journey that I just think needs to tell their story, like Hades, like Marche, like Aaron Xavier. People that
son of a bitch.
They have so much talent, and they've done so much, and they gave so much and got back so little.
Right.
And I want the world to see the people that I see. 100%. I want the world to see and hear the people that mean the world to me. Because without any of these people, that I wouldn't be here. And for some, it's in the physical sense, some is in the mental sense. But all of them help me become a better person, a better human, a better man. And I want the world to see them for who they really are. So I think we need to keep plugging away. Steve Boz can't hide forever.
He can't hide forever. He can't hide forever.
Hey, we might have to take this show on the road and go to the damn training school and
we might have to do something. Yeah. I mean, it could be done as long as they have good Wi-Fi and I can get Zoom to work. We can do anything, right? A couple other things I want to talk about. We talked a little bit about Avalon and Sierra going to freelance. I had my first experience at freelance this past Friday night, and it was pretty cool. I'd never been to Logan Square, the auditorium that is. My favorite record store is in Logan Square, so I frequent Laurie's Planet of Sound. Bought some vinyl while I was on my way to the show, but that's neither here nor there. Um, so Sierra and Avalon fought Laney and GPA. And unfortunately, Laney is injured right now. Did you see any of that footage? Did you see the jackknife power bomb into the fans that Avalon perpetrated on Laney? Never saw anything like that before in my life. No wonder she's hurt.
I did see it, but I saw a small clip and it was like, oh, okay, like I wanted more.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
it
it
was
was
it was
like,
a pretty cool show. I mean, that match popped me many times. It was really good. Avalon and Sear ended up losing the match because the shovel was used by Laney Luck into the nether region, shall we say, of Joey Avalon, and that's how GPA got the pin. And I was really looking forward to them squaring up again this Friday night in Franklin Park. But I guess you don't always get what you want, so maybe down the road we will see GPA and Laney square off against Avalon and Sierra at CSW at some point. Uh,
yeah,
Kylie Ray came back. It was her first night back. She fought
I saw.
Isaiah Vasquez. Uh, God, that place went bananas. Their ring announcer, Val Capone. You know what? Being a ring announcer, you can sometimes get caught up in a moment. And I think those are the best moments. You know, I get excited when things happen and I'm ring announcing and I'll react to it because that's just, I love what's going on. I love being part of the story. But when Kylie's music hit, Val had the most genuine reaction of the night. Oh, shit. And she said it all out over IWTV, but it was so awesome because that's what everybody thought. Holy shit, she spoke for us. So big ups to Val Capone for popping me in that moment. But Kylie came out and she was fast and furious and phenomenal, and like she'd never gone. It was a great match. Isaiah Vasquez, bad backhand.
Velasquez.
Vasquez, is that what I said?
Velasquez.
Velasquez, sorry, that's on me. But the point is, he was so good at being so bad, and they hated him. But the story those two told in the ring was magic. What a match! I got to see Danhausen live for the first time as he kind of popped up unexpected. Shaq Jordan stole the scramble, came out, and he showed that arena what I've known for years in a six-man scramble match where everybody was doing high flying action. They were trying to keep up with Shaq because, as God is my witness, Red, Shaq is the real deal.
Oh, well, we already know that.
Yeah, Shaq is. It's not going to be long that Shaq's going to be around these parts. So you better get out. Frontline, he's the champion right now. Get there and see him while he is, because he never
And
had
I
a
called
bad
it.
match. It's Shaq Jordan is him. He's him. You'll see. I saw this before when we would watch Sky Blue wrestle. I'm like, there's no way she's going to be around here forever. I mean, she comes back, which is great, but she's AEW now. They're doing cool things. Shaq is heading that direction too. I felt that way about Kylie. I felt that way about Sky. I feel that way about Shaq. I feel like his road is it's destiny. But great work at freelance. Uh, Great venue. I had a great time. Got to hang out with Big D and Morgan and some of the CSW faithful that came out there to do the CSW chant, which I appreciated. So it was fun. And then the next day, I traveled to Wisconsin for Frontline Pro, and it was the tag team scramble, the invitational tournament, and saw some of the oddest pairings. Now there was one of the great moments of that night, Red, was when the audio equipment went down and the tag team of Josh Price and Kid Lat were coming to the ring, and Josh Price comes out singing. You remember Fat Guy in Little Coat by uh, Tommy Boy? When he holy shnikey and he rips the coat. So he comes out singing Kid Lat and the Big Guy in kind of this song. And at one point, because they don't have the music, so they're singing themselves out, which I thought was pretty cool. But they had the whole crowd singing this song that they were making up as they went.
Only to lose.
Only to lose, but it was a magic moment. And I swear to God, Kid Lat and the Big Guy, that song is trending on iTunes and Spotify. Because that was that, and we're still talking about it in the chat. People are still referencing it. It's a thing now. I think Ewok, the Beatmaster, is going to make this song, and it's going to be their entrance. I don't think Kid Lat and the Big Guy are done yet. I think that this is a tag team that. And as much as I love Thunder and Lightning, when something spontaneous happens like this, that's so fucking cool. It's amazing. And then Bulletproof Ben McCoy. He and Hot Rod Daddy Andy, they won the Invitational, so they get title shots of their. So Ben decided to lay. Now Andy was a little injured, so he was kind of off to the side convalescing. But Ben went right after the mic and he said, "I'm challenging Shaq Jordan for Honor Bound." Now Honor Bound is WrestleMania. Honor Bound is, well, A Night for Tyler is pretty big too, but Honor Bound's the shit. That's the show. It's my first one this year. I'm very excited. EC3 and people like that are going to be in Honor Bound. Ben challenges him straight up, and he and Shaq get into a promo battle where they're dogging each other down, kind of like they did on Thursday night on the Peacock Network. They're going at it, and it just doesn't stop. Bam, bam, bam. And then, lo and behold, a rival of Ben's, Nathan Gust from Florida, comes out and starts some shit. And then Ben challenges him to an Iron Man match at Honor Bound. So does that mean Ben has a championship match against Shaq and an Iron Man match? I mean,
nah.
he's the owner. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
He could, but I don't think he will.
Ben was amped.
But did I not call my nephew and say my nephew was going to win?
You did, and he retained the title. Tommy Trainwreck gave him a hard time, and it was
no. I ain't talking about. I called that match.
You did.
But I'm talking about there was going to be a new champ.
Just saying.
Paragon
and Ewok. That pretty much kicked things off.
Yeah.
And it was everything you hoped it would be. They have tussled for a while now. This rivalry has been built up over time. But it was, Ewok hits harder than anybody, but Paragon is relentless. And in the end, you're right. Paragon did what Paragon does, and he collected the pelt, and he got the job done. He is the world's most dangerous game. And at the end of the match, he extended a hand of friendship to Ewok, who flipped him off and walked out. So Ewok is going through some shit, but boy, when those two got together, they are really two of the best that are doing it right now. And it was magic, and it was a great way to start the show. You guys got to come up to Wisconsin and check out Frontline. It's so fucking good. I was doing commentary. Our commentary partner Chris had a surgery, so he couldn't be with us. So it was me and Aaron Arsenal all night. Now, Aaron Arsenal, one half of the former tag team champions, absolute power trip, part of Stryker Industries. He and I don't get along very well, Aaron Arsenal, but he doing commentary while he is injured is been one of the great joys that I've had in wrestling over the last couple of years. I really enjoy working with this guy. I won't tell him this because I don't want to tell him that, because then, he'll get a bigger head than he already has. But boy, I have a lot of fun doing commentary with him. It's good stuff. Check it out on the Premier Streaming Network. And I got one more thing. Now, we talked about CSW. That's this Friday night, Hearts on Fire. Great song from John Cafferty. I'll be making my little montage later on in the week as I get the rest of the show flyers. And that's the song I'll be using, because that, to me, is the greatest training montage in any Rocky movie ever. Standing on top of the mountain, Drago! Come on. Come on. You know it's the best. You know it. Come
I
on.
don't know. I don't know.
Come on. You
You
know.
know, since Carl Weathers died, living in America. So
Well, hey, that's not a training montage. That's him coming.
no, I could train. I used to run on trail to that. So
Hey, Rocky was training in Russia to avenge Apollo's death.
I get,
That's how deep that shit is, man.
yeah, but he
Come
actually
on.
died. Like, if you think of Apollo Creed, are you gonna think of that song, or are you gonna think of Living in America?
I'll tell you what, Hearts on Fire is a bad. That's the song. That is
Again, I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm
you,
just saying
you love that shit. You know it. You can't be our age and not love that. That training montage was fire. Well, while Drago's getting shot up with steroids, he's lifting rocks and people. That was great.
I will break you.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Anyway, you know how it all ended out. And then shit got weird in Rocky 4 or
Yeah,
Rocky 5. Things got weird then.
shit really got weird in Rocky
It got
Five.
weird in Rocky. It didn't get any better as we went, but that's neither. That's a tale for another time. I want to close the show talking
I
about
say Marche's gonna whoop Schultz's ass.
huh?
Marche's gonna whoop Schultz's ass.
Well, that's going to be a very interesting six-man match.
No, it ain't. Marche just won't Schultz's ass.
Well, Marche going to get it, and Schultz is going to get his suspender snapped on him. And listen, I want nothing more than the brass holes to be destroyed, and I hope TJ comes out to interfere and Marche gets to M80 him. But that's just me.
But that's the one thing that I disagreed with Hades. And I'm sorry, Hades, if you're watching this, I have to disagree with you. He's still believing that when he books these people, the hate keepers, they're gonna play fair. I don't see Warhorse defeating Axel Rico fairly. I don't.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's a thug mentality, and the brass holes have it. The hate keepers do. We need a contingent of good people to come out and avenge us.
Should I come out?
I feel like I should have asked him for my job back because TJ Steele is a horrible general manager. Horrible.
You know that. I know.
I was a good general manager. I kept that place unlocked for years.
You did all right.
I did great. Come on.
You never gave me a job.
Better than Damian Saint.
You never gave me a job.
Well, I didn't have the budget. I got to pay you. I got to
Damian
pay
Saint.
you. I got to pay for the jet. I got to pay for your entourage. I can't afford all that.
Oh, no, just me.
Okay. Yeah.
At least Damian Saint gave me a coffee mug. Hey, you didn't.
Damian Saint didn't give you shit. You know who gave you that.
I know who gave you that.
They had nothing to do with that shit. But we'll talk about them a little more next week as we get closer to the big Shamrock Showdown. I can't wait to be a guest on the Ringmasters Funhouse. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm like, do I share this?
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
I shared it because of Shelly.
I don't want Grin showing up to free my mind. I'll respectfully answer any question that the Ringmaster.
I'm telling you right now, let Grin show up during that interview. Blackburn gonna have his ass there by himself.
Don't give me. We'll talk about Blackburn as we go. That dude pissed me off, but that's neither here nor there. What I want to talk about is how now in 2024 the keyboard warriors can affect story writing.
Dude, they've always been doing it. Not
on this scale.
To this scale,
this was the most ridiculous scenario. I mean, it worked out great.
So it's not.
It worked out great, but God, what a pivot!
But I think it shows that when you give an audience that much power, then they're willing to voice their opinion regardless. Me as a fan, I'm just sitting back, and I'm just letting what happens. I know what I would like to see in 7 weeks. but I also know that it's one of those things where you need to take a step back. And I think that is one of the problems with social media. Jason
Haiti
talked,
said it. Haiti said it.
it's one of those things where I hate it because what was, I believe, what was created for good. This is one of the bad things. Instead of fans just being fans and watch what unfolds. I've got to voice what I need to say. I know I'm a Cody fan. And it's like, really? Were you really a Cody fan? No. I don't believe there were that many fans. I honestly
I
think
don't. They call criers. Wasn't that what I heard? There's a
Cody
hashtag.
crybabies.
No, the
Cody,
crybabies. That's right. There's a hashtag. Listen,
but
I'm a rock guy. I've
I'm a
always
rock
been a
guy.
rock guy. I don't like the Rocky sucks chant because I wanted to see Rocky versus Roman. Cody can finish his story anytime he wants to. I
We
want
still
to
don't
see.
know.
I want to see the Rock and Roman Reigns. But
But here's
what I
the
did,
thing, we don't know.
we don't know. But what I did really enjoy was Triple H saying, in case you're wondering who's doing this, you're looking at him, and he's dropping Rock's catchphrases, because one of the great wars that this business has ever seen has been between Triple H and The Rock. And I know Triple H isn't wrestling again. I mean, the dude's got a pacemaker. I know that can't happen. But when he's in that ring, just dissing The Rock, that makes me feel something that I felt when I was young. And I appreciate that. And when Rock
Well,
came by after the press conference, you better fix this shit or we're going to do it. And Triple H and him got face to face. Man, some of my best wrestling memories are those two guys face to face doing their thing.
but again, so the beautiful part is, so Roman and Rock will retort on Friday. But we still, even though, and the crazy part, the trailer shows Rock and Roman
And Cody and
versus
Seth.
Seth.
Yeah.
So again, we still don't know. Are we getting, is this night one and it continues this night two? Or is this going to be just like, we don't know? And I told somebody the other day, I'm just sitting back and enjoying it. I'm enjoying heel Rock.
Yeah. Man, he
I'm,
was savage on McAfee. He was a savage on McAfee. That is
but
vintage Rock.
but
That's
was
Rocky
he?
Maivia Rock.
But was he really? When I see this point, and you started this off saying that again, too much power, you know. So if fans start cheering or uh tweeting, we want to see uh
Our
Rhea
truth,
Ripley.
our truth, our truth.
I mean, but he's been a state. But we want to see Rhea Ripley in a bikini at Mania. Like,
Rhea Ripley ain't wearing no. It doesn't matter how many people want to see it.
but I'm
Everybody,
saying,
everybody
like,
wants to see it. Doesn't matter who wants to see it. She ain't wearing that.
but my thing is, when do you say no?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think maybe they there's a long time to go before we get to April. We
We
got
got 7 weeks.
we got 7 weeks, and they have given themselves the opportunities to tell many great chapters to this story along the way.
Dude, we
So,
haven't even got to Elimination Chamber yet.
no, so we got a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit, but I find it funny, that the power of the wrestling fan, at least the illusion of the power of the wrestling fan, is alive and well the hashtag we want Cody, finish the story.
Dude, but isn't that what smart marks have been doing for years?
Yeah, but never displayed like this. I mean, this might be the greatest example of. I mean, it would have been, if it was just The Rock and Roman Reigns. I mean, that's money. I mean, that's a money match. I mean, that's historic.
But I don't think most people see that you want to put out the match that are going to bring in the dollars, right?
Oh, that's, when you get The Rock in a match at WrestleMania, you're not just getting the wrestling fans that love The Rock, you're getting people that are following Dwayne Johnson.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why that's a
If
huge thing.
When he first, that whole thing about the head of the table, right?
They have been cooking in 2 years.
That had been on every platform,
Oh, yeah.
right? News, sports, cast, ESPN,
It was everywhere.
right? Then you got Cody stepping down, we thought, and it was the face-to-face with Roman. That shit went viral. Like, that's the match to make the money. But even now, everybody's still talking about it. And that's the most brilliant thing. They didn't take The Rock out and say, well, Rock won't be at Mania. It just might be in some different capacity, and we don't know. So everybody's talking. Everybody's talking about watching. So I think they know what they're doing. Did they have to switch it up? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think
we have a few more swerves coming in over the next 7 weeks. Yeah.
And that's why I'm just sitting back like, okay.
And we'll enjoy the ride. It's a fun ride. So that's all well and good.
Yep.
It's interesting. It's entertaining. And it's pretty cool. Want to thank our guest, Jason Hades. First of all, shout out to Rachel and PX and Rion. It was just you and me. We went old school tonight, but we had Hades. So going old school is the way it probably should have been. But we miss you guys, and we hope you're back next week. Next week, got another surprise for you, Red.
I can't take too many more surprises.
I went deep, Red. Next week, our guest is going to be communicating with us in a time zone where it's 5:30 in the morning when we're doing this show.
Huh?
From Japan. All the way from the island of Japan. Do you remember our old crash-tested friend from the Dominion, Grim?
Nah.
Grim and Ripper and Renee and Lilith.
Nah.
Well, you better go do some homework, because next week on this show, live from Japan, he's been living in Japan for the last several years. He's wrestling in Japan. So Grim is going to be our guest from Japan next week. First time the Power Hour is going to go live via satellite to Japan.
So we're international now?
This is going to be the first ever international episode of the Power Hour next Tuesday night from Japan. Nate Grim.
Konnichiwa, bitches!
Yeah. Thanks to Jason Hades. Don't miss CSW Hearts on Fire this Friday night, Franklin Park. Tickets still available. We hope. It's going to be a packed house. Gringo Loco, Mia Moore, Sky Blue returns again. There's going to be
Black.
It's Dark Sky. Just don't get crazy. Don't get crazy, Red. Get those crazy eyes. I can't handle that. All right, we're done. Thank you. We'll see you next time live from Japan. Well, we won't be in Japan, but Nate will. Have a good night. Enjoy. Thanks to FreakNut Studios. We will catch you on the flip side, and peace.